I thought so too. I thought that was excellent.
Okay, I see 7:30 on the clock. Perhaps we should start. 7:31. Okay, we're late. Patricia, I'm going to go ahead and start the warm-up, and then afterward, we'll turn it over to you for a moment.
Okay.
For any announcements. Brian, I'm still hoping those files will pop up somewhere.
You're working on sending them to you.
Yeah, John Eric, I'm sending them to you now via WeTransfer. That's the quickest route to it, rather than try to get you a login for the website right now.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate your help on that. Okay, so everyone else, your microphones should be off and your cameras should be on so that I can see your lovely faces and watch how you're holding your mouths or not. We'll start with yo, 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 ho, ho, ho. And I'm going to pin myself, so you should make me larger than all the other faces so that you can see me. How do I do this? I know how to make me fill the screen.
I put you on speaker view. That worked for me.
Oh, everyone does it individually, right?
For me too, yes.
Oh,
yes,
spotlight.
but everybody has to mute, otherwise.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so
also, John Eric, they can, once they click on your screen, the 3 dots, they can pin you.
Right.
So anybody else coming in late won't interfere with your view.
Good, thank you. I think I put on a spotlight, so I think I may have claimed that. Hopefully you see me big. We'll go back to the other way later and check it. We'll start with E-O, E-O, E-O. And the trick here is to make sure your E doesn't go out this way, as we know. E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. Keep the lips forward and the jaw down. Ready? E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. Mute your microphones, please. We'll go again. E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. 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 Okay, cool. This lighting is actually really good for this little task here. So if you can watch my face, I'll do the E vowel. E. And when I do that, you can see my tongue hiding behind my teeth. It's upright, so it's far forward, so you can see the light reflecting off of that. Again, it's E. But when I go to the O, it wants to flop down in the back of my mouth. E-O. And that's where all our resonance gets lost. So if you can keep the tongue arched when you switch to O, it's a little bit of a struggle, but if you can do it, E-O, you keep all that buzziness, that forward placement that we really like in bel canto singing. So not E-O, but E-O, and keep the tongue forward as you do it. Let's see if I can find my key. Let's go down a bit. Keep the tongue forward. Ready? E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. 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 That's a high F. If that's too high for you, drop down the octave. Basses, altos, tenors, and sopranos stay on the high notes. And ready? And here we go. E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. E-O, 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 ho, ho, ho. Make sure your mics are muted. One more, sopranos. Okay, the next one is do, do, re, do, do, re, mi, re, do. With each repeat of the pattern, you add one syllable to the scale. So just starting with do, I hope you remember. Here we go, and do. Do, do, re, do, do, re, mi, re, do, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, sol, fa, mi, re, do. This should all be the same principle, that once you get your mouth set in the right shape, it should stay there. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. The more you chew on it, the sloppier it sounds. Okay? Remember, I would like to say this, that all instruments are fixed in shape except yours. And since you're infinitely flexible, it requires an infinite amount of discipline to get that into shape. So make sure that you're focusing on lips forward, jaw down, and tongue arched as much as you can to establish that good ring in the voice. So we're going to take our scale, do the big version of it. A-O-A-O. Compromise the vowel, not the tone quality. Here we go. Faces down the octave. One more, sopranos. Dreadful. All right. So I'm going to go back to the regular view, and you can take me off of Spotlight for a minute if you want to. Back to the gallery view where I can see all of you at once. Yay. I love that. Okay, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 75 of us or so today. That's great. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here. So Patricia's going to take over, have a few announcements, tell us about submitting your videos if you're ready to do that. And then we'll come back and do Samachti. We'll rely on Brian Filtz, here he is, to help us with the diction. And we'll go through that first for 20 minutes or so, take any questions, and then do the other piece, Bleak, before we leave. 61. Thanks, Dale. Okay, Patricia.
Okay, so this was a little bit of a surprise. I thought there was only one choir member that was still having difficulty with the website, but it looks like there's more of you. Please send me an email if you are not able to access the members area, or if you're having issues with your password, whatever it might be, and give us a day or so, and we will sort everybody out one by one. Make sure that you all the information is there. We want to make sure that you have access to it. In terms of submitting videos, we will send you a link for the WeTransfer, the Bach Choir WeTransfer, and you will use that to submit any videos. We also have guides for how to do it and so on. So we will look for that in an email, and we will send you that tomorrow. That's all the, and oh, the other announcement is next Wednesday, the 28th, is when we are doing a live stream of Smoke and Steel. There will be, it's the archive recording and video. There will be additional information, interviews that will be part of it. It will be at 7:30. Invite all your friends. If the email hasn't gone out yet, it will be going out shortly with all the information you need for that.
Wendy, you have a question about that?
I do. I have a question, because when I go into the rehearsal, the Google folder, there's a document that says Fall 2020 Rehearsal Guide Tracks, and at the bottom of it, it says Guide Tracks with Conductor, Piano, and Singers for practice only, not recording yourself. So my question is, which are we supposed to use for recording ourselves, or is that just a mistake on the bottom of that document? Because I've held off recording, waiting for the one that we're supposed to record ourselves to.
My understanding, and I'm not the expert on this, is that you will record yourself to the guide track that has the 4 core members also singing. So with a quartet and conductor and piano, that's what you record with. There are other guide tracks with just conductor and piano. There's guide tracks with conductor, piano, and a single voice part. Those are just for your practicing, if they're useful to you, but for recording, you use the quartet.
Okay, so, but there's only the quartet.
That makes
for
sense?
In the Bleak Midwinter. Yes, but there's only a quartet one for In the Bleak Midwinter. The Samakti one is the full choir, and it's much slower than the guide track that Thomas has. So I think we're missing one of the guide tracks with the core group.
Saying that the Samakti is the full Bach choir version from years back?
Yeah, I believe so. It sounds like it. So
okay, I think possibly that document may need to be updated. There is, if you go to the choir member hub, there is a link to guide tracks there.
Patricia,
so that's where you are. Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing. If you go into the hub, and I'm looking at it right now, there is a Google Doc with Fall 2020 rehearsal guide tracks. There is Bleak Midwinter guide with the core. I think that's the one we're probably supposed to sing to. There is a Samakti that is from, that it seems to be the entire choir that's slower in pace than the guide track that's on the Google Doc. And there is not a link to single voice parts at all. I have never found an alto only part. So I think that there are files missing maybe. So you might want to, because I don't know which one I'm supposed to record to, honestly.
Okay, so, okay, let me help
you. You have to go on concert recordings and then Fall 20, and you find them all there.
Thanks, Aries.
Thank you.
Iris.
I just posted a link to the chat that has all the recordings.
All right, that's helpful.
It is not the Google Drive. It is confusing because there are things in both that and the Google Drive, but I think this is the canonical thing on the web page.
Okay. So the link is posted here, and Patricia is going to follow up and send a confirmation email at some point today or tomorrow saying this is where the file is, this is the one you use. It's definitely the one with the quartet that you should be recording with. If you can't find that, then we need to get that for you. What's most important is that you don't start using YouTube tracks or YouTube recordings, because they're going to be different, and there's no way we can sync you up if you're a second off. If your timing is different or a beat per minute faster, your recording won't work. So that's fine to review your parts and feel free, but when you're going to record, make sure that you're using the quartet version with Thomas conducting and piano in the background.
And just to elaborate, John, Eric, I think that they're called core, not quartet.
Core, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so Wendy, did that work? Did you find it there?
Yes, because of that link. But yeah, I think maybe an email with that link also would be a good thing, so we can find it after this rehearsal would be great, because I had no idea that that's where we could find that.
All right. That link took me nowhere, so I don't know quite, yeah, but anyway.
Okay, we'll follow up. Patricia, yeah?
Yeah, we'll make sure everybody has the link. Sorry about that.
Very good. That's okay, it happens. Okay, so where are we at? We're gonna start with Samakti. And what I'm going to play for you is the version that Thomas conducts with piano in the background. I see my files just came through. Let me see if I can download these super quick. It'll probably take 5 minutes. I'm kidding. So on one side of my screen, you'll see the sheet music, and on the other side, you'll see Thomas conducting. And that should do the trick for us. Okay, let me get my Thomas page up.
John, Eric, quick question regarding both of these recordings.
Go ahead.
Remember in the summer sing, we had to do the countdown, so we were all together?
Yes.
Do we have to do that for either of these?
I don't think so, unless that's in the specific instructions that that Thomas did or will send out. I wouldn't. To be honest, though, it's not a big deal because we can always work around that.
Okay.
Anything you say before you sing can be eliminated.
I know it was to sync up the singing, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they do want you to use the count. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. It can't hurt. Okay, so Zoom, and I need to share my screen with you. And I hope I got audio here too. Computer sound, desktop. Oh, so what do I share? My screen. Got it. We're using Microsoft Teams at my school, so it's weird switching back and forth. Some of you are probably doing that too. All right, so here's the piano part. Can you hear it? Can somebody tell me that? They could hear it.
I hear it.
I don't.
Yes.
Oh.
Let me play it again. Is anybody not hearing that audio?
I'm not hearing it.
You are not, but everybody else is?
I'm
I
hearing
can-
it.
I can hear it.
Yes.
All right, Iris, I'm not sure there.
I don't know either.
One thing that usually works at school is if we tell the kids to leave the meeting and then rejoin. Sometimes that does it. I've got most people, so I'm going to roll for now. And Iris, if you can't get it straightened out, speak up and we'll try again. Okay, folks, so you're going to see Thomas conducting, and I'll keep the score scrolling by so that you can keep up. You should probably be using your own music, but just in case you're not, you can use this. And then I can talk about this from here too. Okay, here we go. Do your best.
Yeah.
One, two, three, four. Sing. To the downbeat. Hold on. And breath. Hold to the downbeat. Sopranos on the descant here. Hi, sorry. To the downbeat, repeat. To the downbeat. All right. Thomas looks good doing that. I'm sure you sound pretty good too. Let me walk backwards and just make sure that you tackled a few things. And then as soon as I get back to the beginning, we can take any questions and probably rehearse a few spots too. There may come a time during the next 10, 15 minutes when I ask for one person to sing it. If you're a core member, please volunteer at that point so that we can get an example of how other people are interpreting it, and then maybe offer some advice or wisdom to other singers. Okay, so as I mentioned, here at the bottom of the last page, excuse me for a moment, at the bottom of the last page, make sure that you sustain this to the downbeat each time. The CH goes on the downbeat, and that's breath that you have to take really quickly. so that you can sing the phrase again. I remember doing this before, and Thomas asked us to save just a little bit of gas in your tank for the repeat. So it's not that it needs to be fortissimo, it just needs to be a little bit firmer or a little bigger than the first time through on the last page. Also, everybody breathes here in measure 35 for soprano, altos, tenors, basses after Elohe, Elohenu, Avaksha. Take a eighth note rest there. Same as sopranos. And sopranos, watch the line leading into it. Make sure it's an eighth note from Adonai. Don't make that a quarter note. It clashes with the notes below in a really bad way. So make sure it's an eighth note after that. And a quick breath after. Working our way back just a bit. I messed up the text on the top of page 7. It's le, ma, an, a, chai, and then vere. So ai is chai, ei is e, re. Is that correct, Brian Filtz?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so sopranos, at the bottom of page 7, after the text I just gave you, make sure that you take an eighth note breath before the following downbeat. So this would be le ma an achai. Sopranos, le ma an, sorry, le ma an achai verei adabra. Make sure you hit that ah with some authority. You're the only part that occurs on that downbeat. So we really need sopranos to be committed. You could take that any way you want. Everybody else, notice the dynamic change at the top of page 7. Le ma an achai is pianissimo. All of a sudden, make sure it drops down, which is important to remember because we always tended to make the previous phrase get softer. Shalva be'armenota, but it shouldn't. It should stay mezzo forte all the way through that phrase, and then almost a subito pianissimo. If in doubt about dynamics, you can often see them in the piano part, but you shouldn't read them too literally. They're not really meant for us, but they're implied for us. So on page 7, make sure you all breathe on the downbeat of measure 29, pianissimo. Sopranos, make sure you breathe before the downbeat in measure 31. Everyone else breathes on the downbeat of 31. Going back, sopranos, one more connection that you make that we don't. From the bottom of 6 to the top of 7, this is Yehi shalom b'chelech shalva b'a. I can't do that phrase in one breath, and probably many of you can't either. If that's the case, make sure that you're not breathing at the critical point between page 6 and page 7 when everybody else drops out. So you have to connect from b'chelech to shalva without a break. If you sneak somewhere else, we can get away with it. But sopranos should continue singing from 25 all the way to 28 without a group breath, and especially make sure you don't sneak it at the page turn. A similar thing to page 7 happens on the top of page 6 for sopranos, where they need to breathe early in measure 22. Sha'alu, sha'alu, shalom Yerushalayim, yishlayu. Make sure you hit the yish with some authority like before. So that's the second verse. Everyone is unison except for sopranos who have that descant, and the breaths change for sopranos, but they're pretty consistent for everyone else. Working back a little farther, make sure you sing to the downbeat every time you have that phrase. Here in measure 17, everybody sneaks a little breath after Edut le Yisrael. Take an eighth note rest right there in measure 17. And the dotted rhythm here is really important in measure 16. Sheshamalu shivteya edut le Yisrael. Make sure you delay that, not dut le Yis. Don't be lazy. Dut le Yisrael. Make it a short eighth note or a short 16th note, and then that means that you drag out your dotted note just a little longer than is comfortable. We tend to turn them into triplets. Measure 14, working our way back to the downbeat. Tenors have the important line there since their notes are changing. If your notes are not changing, you're slightly less important than the notes that are changing. I only mention that because, you know, tenors. Like on page, I kid. On page 4, the tenors have another suspension at Yerushalayim Habnuya. Everybody crescendos, but tenors should have already crescendoed because their line is coming to dominance at that point. Firm a breath on the downbeat of measure 13. Everyone does it. But watch out for the breath in measure 9. It's a full quarter. And we're guaranteed to get some recordings where somebody trips on that. It's a very easy mistake to make because it's the only time it happens. Make sure you take a full quarter rest. For sopranos, seems like an eternity to wait for that, but take your deep breath and relax. And then back to the first page. Altos have the important line here. Yay, altos. Your part is otherwise somewhat boring, but at least you've got some suspensions that make it interesting. Of course, they're the same suspension twice in a row. Bummer. Bring out your suspensions, lay back on your sustained notes. Okay, so those are like general comments, not based on anything we just heard. It would probably be a good time now to take any specific comments you have. I'm going to keep my screen on here, but I'm going to put Thomas away for a minute and try to bring the meeting back so you can see some of yourselves as well. Nope, I can't do it. Okay, so we just look at my feather here. Questions?
Eric,
Yes.
like in the first measure 3,
Yes.
the B apostrophe is or A?
B.
Or B? It's
Yeah, either UH or IH, B or B. It's unstressed.
Okay.
I use a BUH, a schwa. Samachti be'omrim.
Mm-hmm.
That's a standard question. Everybody wonders about the B apostrophe. Okay, anybody else? Questions?
It's that wherever we see it.
Absolutely, every single time.
John Eric,
Yes.
is it the same for all of the, like the L apostrophe, K apostrophe, the BUH or BIH? For
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
That was my question.
It's a great question. And especially where it bumps up against a vowel, like B-om-rim, you have to put a glottal on the om, B-om, not bom, because then you'll lose your B. B-om-rim, B-om-rim, B-om-rim. It's hard to sustain a unstressed syllable, but that's the challenge. Good. Anybody else music questions or diction questions for Brian?
So actually on page 2, then it's ke, eat, she.
Page 2. Yeah.
Page 4, sorry, page 4.
You got it.
Yeah.
Ke ir she hub.
Ke ir she hub. So
right.
hub, right.
Yeah, that's the breathy CH.
Yeah.
Hub.
Okay.
And the beginning of that line is also Yerushalayim. Ke eat, ke ir. Good questions. So keep coming with musical questions or diction questions if you have them.
Peter has a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
On the last page, when we were singing along with the piano version just now, I was singing kind of loud and I couldn't hear the piano. Is there any retard or rubato at the start of that last page, either the first or second time through?
Great question. It seems like he takes almost like a maestoso on the repeat. It just seems bigger and broader. I'm not actually sure if the tempo is different, but if you're watching, you'll be okay. He's conducting the piano live there, so if you watch while you're doing it, it should take care of it for you.
The video is out of sync with the audio when you were playing it just now.
That's only because of the lag through the Zoom call. That should not be a problem when you play it on your own device.
You should also consider downloading the file so you have it perfect. So if you have a computer lag in general, you won't be synced up either.
Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree. I've been doing these with my students at Alderdice this year, and anytime a video comes in where it doesn't line up, it doesn't sync up, it's because they didn't use the guide track that I gave them. Some of them used, some of them didn't figure out the guide track and just sang it a cappella, and it's never going to work that way. So make sure that you've got the guide track. And Brian's right. The more you have it on your machine and not relying on the internet, the better that is.
And we're also supposed to have that guide track with a corded headphone in our ear, so you'll be able to hear it and see it. So you can make that as loud as you want in your ear, so you can hear the piano.
Yeah.
Or the voice is singing.
That's true. I don't know if Bluetooth is still a problem, but if your audio is out of sync with your video and you've got it downloaded, it could be Bluetooth earphones that are causing problems like that.
They discourage Bluetooth too.
I do as well. I discourage that. It hasn't been a huge problem for us though, because when we get the recording, all we see is you. And if you're in time with yourself, it kind of works out. But yeah, I agree. Wired is better. Okay, back to music, please. Any other music questions at this point?
Question, John Eric.
Yes, Sherry.
Bar 31, where you want the soprano to come in with conviction.
Yes.
So we pianissimo, and then we end up forte on page 8. What dynamic are we aiming for?
So this section, yeah, is pianissimo. And really at that point, when you land on that note, it's just a bigger version of that. It crescendos slightly, so you might call it piano. If everyone else goes to piano, you should be mezzo piano. As long as you're feeling a little bit of growth and then a little bit of a commitment to that next note, it'll be fine. Piano or mezzo piano is a good way to go. Good question. Anybody else? I can't see your hands right now because I'm sharing my screen and I can't do both.
So actually, yeah, to come back to that, so it's pianissimo at the top of 7, and
Correct.
then at the middle bar where it's adash, is that what is that, mezzo forte, and then the next page is forte?
Do you mean here at measure 31?
Yes,
28.
31, yeah.
So this is, just in case you're lost, this is page 7. It's marked pianissimo at the top with the ma ana high, the re I, and by that point, sopranos might be mezzo piano, might be piano. And on the next page,
it's forte.
It's forte. So that's like a subito. After you get to Lombach, Sheshama, oh sorry, Le Ma'anbet forte. There are crescendos here in the piano part, so you may feel your part grow.
But there is a crescendo in bar 31, and I guess the question is how you say it only goes up to piano?
No, that's from measure 30. It goes
30
from
to
pianissimo
31.
to piano. In 31, you're going from piano to more like mezzo forte or something. But you should just feel it in the version that we do. It gets higher in your voice. It's going to feel like it needs to be louder. I wouldn't worry too much about dynamics until you get to the forte on the next page. Dynamics, while we're at it though, don't forget the top of 7 stays mezzo forte from shalva all the way to taich, and then subito pianissimo. So the top of 27 is continuing the mezzo forte from the top of page 6, mezzo forte. Anyone else? Let's do one last task for this. Brian, would you speak in rhythm the lyrics, and we'll just echo you on our own so that we get one last check at the diction before we start making recordings.
You're putting me on the spot to make sure my rhythm is right, huh?
Yep, that's it. It's a test.
Okay, thanks. All right. By the way, the pronunciation is out there on the Google Drive if you need a refresher. It's not on the web, it's not on our hub, but it is on the Google Drive. Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Samachti be'omrim li.
Everyone repeat, mic's off.
Beit Adonai Nelech. Omdot hayu ragleinu. I'm cheating on the rhythm, sorry. Bisharayich Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim habnuya. Ke'ir shechubra la yachdav. Sheshamalu Shivteya Edut Israel Lehodo Leshem Adonai. Sorry, that should be shame. Let me look at my sorry.
I agree, Brian. The EI is more of an AY sound.
More than but it's not a diphthong.
Okay. Like the Italian
Yeah.
Shame. Shame, not that.
You know, what's interesting is that verse that's starting at 15 through 18, the Hebrew is actually not shown, which doesn't help because that's what I was using to make sure I was doing the proper pronunciation.
I noticed that as well. In the cover of the song, the lyrics are there, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Brian, can I suggest, this is Tybee, can I suggest that it's Shem Adonai, name of the Lord?
Okay. So repeat that.
It's more apt. It should be more Shem Adonai.
Ah.
Okay. All right, then Shem.
Lehodot Leshem Adonai.
The transliterations are a bit misleading.
Good.
Thank you, Tybee. I know Tybee's more versed in the actual translation, so she would know that better than I would.
Great. Okay, let's go on to the second verse.
Before we do that, could you just repeat the text for bar 13?
Sure, it's on my screen now. That's Ke'ir Shehubra. Brian?
Ke'ir Shehubra la Yachtav. That is probably one of the hardest verses right there, that little two measures, because you have all of those consonants rubbing up against each other. So looking at, if you were to, I mean, I know I've done it before, but on the word chub, C-H-U-B, if that B rubs up against the R-A-H, I don't think it'll be a big of an issue. I think it happens anyway with a lot of people. So it'd be like shehubra, like it almost puts the B onto the R.
Okay, Brian, let's get to that last verse here.
Okay. Sorry.
Sha'alu. That's
All
okay.
right. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim.
Everybody say it. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim.
Yishlayu ohavayich.
Yishlayu ohavayich.
Yehi shalom bechelech.
That's not the soprano rhythm, but everybody do alto tenor bass.
Sorry.
That's okay. Ready and Yehi shalom bechelech. All the way to the downbeat. Sopranos, yours is different. We'll trust you.
Shalva be'armenotai.
Everyone and go. Shalva be'armenotai.
Lema'anachai v're'ai.
Everyone. Lema'anachai v're'ai.
Adabrana shalom bach.
3 and 4, go. Adabrana shalom bach. And the last page.
The ma'an beit Adonai Eloheinu.
Right, everybody, 3 and 4, go. Lema'an beit Adonai Eloheinu.
Avaksha tovla.
Everybody, 3, 4, go. Avaksha tovlach. All the way to the downbeat.
Sorry if I was flat. I'm not sitting appropriately, and I'm probably not.
You're in tune with yourself.
Thank you.
That's all. There you go. Okay, so at that, I want to leave the song here unless there's any other urgent questions. Okay, so we're going to switch over to Bleak. And let me see if my files are ready. Wow, this file's huge.
Three.
Okay, let me resize my screen here and then we'll be good to go. Okay, everybody hear that okay? Iris, did we get you? Oh, I love that. Look at Thomas go.
Yeah, it's fine. Thanks.
Beautiful. Glad we got that fixed. Okay,
John Eric, this is Sue Phillips. Thomas is not like as clear. He's kind of, I don't know, it's like, you know, it's not really a beat. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
We should just listen to the music.
What,
so
Matt?
Sue?
Just listen to the recorded music.
Okay. I'll look at.
All right. I think it's useful to try to see this together with the score. I'm going to play this track again. You can hear the four of us in the background. Obviously, this is not suitable for you to actually rehearse with. You got to do it on your own. But we can point out some things and discover some things as we go. Okay, so this is Thomas, and I'll keep the score moving as you go. When you hear the quartet, keep in mind that there's not a lot of mixing of the parts. We're not really listening to each other. We haven't heard each other at all. So each individual recording sounds a little distant. But when you put 20 more voices on each part, it's quite amazing what you get. And you saw that in our hand on the plow thing. And I see the same thing with my kids in school. When I put 30 of them on the same page, they sound significantly better than they do alone. I only say this because I don't want you to be afraid of your own recordings. It's the biggest hurdle to get over, is the ability to listen to yourself and not, have a retching kind of reaction, because we all do it to ourselves. We all undermine our abilities that way. Keep in mind that we've always heard your voice the same way we'll hear it on the video, and we've always been satisfied with that. You have never heard it that way because you only hear yourself when you sing. Because who listens to recordings of themselves? Nobody does. Don't be afraid. Just send it in. We'll go from there. Okay, here we go.
Three, four.
So notice a little retard there at the end of that line. Make sure you're ready to hold on to stone. Also, don't forget, baritones go up to take this bass 1 line. Tenors go from iron up to the alto 2 line. All altos go back to the alto 1 line. Even though you'd have division iron, it should be iron, not iron. Altos revert back to the alto 1 part. Let's keep going for now. Retard.
At the
So these rests here, consider them as eighth note rests, only because that's what Thomas always asks for. I always feel like they should be quarter note rests, but he never accepts that advice from me. Consider it an eighth note rest. Please, and that's why the retard is there. So take advantage of the extra time. And when you watch him conduct it, he gives that space. Here comes that last line again. Move it along, almost like it's a little faster here, and then watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breath. Worship the. It's really clear if you know how to decode that that breath that he gives us. So look for the eighth note rest. Let's continue to the end here of this section. Watch out. Sopranos take over. Altos take over. Retard. New tempo. Forte. Oh, sorry. Huge breath. So I don't know about any of the other core members, but I was looking for places to sneak all through that, and so will you. So make sure that when you take your big breath before the 6-4, that you have a plan. I suggest that you don't do it at the part where you're trying to get from fortissimo down to piano. That's the spot where you need to stay engaged. So if you can sneak it in the measure before, or even before you get to the long notes, that might be preferable. Otherwise, you have to wait until after the phrase starts. So no breath in measure 53 into 54. That's the key, that you don't sneak it there.
I had a breath.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so that may have happened in rehearsal over the past few weeks. Is that true, Matt?
Don't know when it's from.
Okay, I do not have that same.
Yeah, I got it marked in the rehearsal with Thomas.
Okay, so that's very, very good to know. Thank you. I haven't been in all those with you. So Thomas gave a breath right here at this, right before the piano. And again, I would consider that an eighth rest. I wish I could write this on my screen.
Can you clarify where is the piano? I only have.
Sure. So I'm looking at my screen here. This is measure 52, 53, and 54. The piano is really, really tiny, right here under the slur. You see it? It looks like a little teeny note. So, say again?
There's also the word that says solo. So do we all sing there?
I think that's in everybody, unless a soprano or alto heard a different comment. I think we should keep soprano 1 and 2 on that. I don't think we have a solo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's had all of us doing it in the past.
Yeah, and not all the, maybe not all the first sopranos are singing first on this because it goes up so high. And if that has been you in the past that doesn't enjoy singing the high B, then don't go for it. You don't have to put yourself in that position. Opt for soprano 2 whenever you feel like you want to. I'm sure that'll be fine. Let's get to the end here. That's a quarter rest, by the way. Okay. So this is a difficult piece in many ways. I recorded myself and then had to go back and rehearse some stuff and fix things. And that's probably the case for some of you as well. So take your time, do the best you can. Watch and make sure that you're ready, men, for the switch to the new idea. What can I give him? Oh, what can I? Make sure you have that beat ready to go in your mind. The beauty of this is that it is predictable. Unlike most of our other performances where Thomas can change it at will, he can't change this video. So you know what the timing is going to be. You just have to step to it, so to speak. Okay. I've been looking at me for a long time, or I've been looking at my own screen for a long time. I'm going to stop sharing for a while just so I can see you. Hold on. Let me stop my share. I'll come back to it if I have to. Okay. Hey, there you are. I've missed you. Okay. So who's talking? Wendy.
Yeah. Quick question. In measure 57, I'm having trouble seeing where the cutoff for heart is. Are we going to like? Is it the beginning of beat 4 or?
It should be. Let me check this video real quick. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let me share again with you and I'll show you what to look for in Thomas's conducting. It's a great question. Thomas is often very clear. So it's 1, 2, 3, release. So right when his beat hits the bottom is when you should put your final consonant on. I'll sing with what I see and hopefully that times out with you correctly. So when his hands touch the bottom, there is the cutoff. Great question.
John Eric?
Yes.
I had a question too on that same, on 56. Where do you want the M of him? Do you want it on the first beat or the eighth or the quarter rest?
Which part are you singing?
Soprano. The soprano part.
The 2 or the 1?
The 1.
Okay. So yeah, you just put your M on the second beat of measure 56.
Okay.
After the tied quarter note.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've got no high voice today. Just a little teeny M, not a big deal. Great question.
Thank you.
John Eric, I have a question on measure 24
Yes.
for the tenors. Are we pronouncing that cherubim or cherubim?
Chair.
Chair.
Cherubim.
Because we're the only ones that say it.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. American English. I don't even know if that's pronounced differently in any other versions, but cherubim.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah. Very good.
Back to John Eric.
Stephanie. I got Stephanie.
Sorry,
then Tybee.
Tybee.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Back to measure 55 and 56 again,
Yes.
and I may have missed this because I did miss one rehearsal. The altos are tied on a G on the word him. Do we also, should we place our M with the sopranos?
No, I would make that legato right into the other phrase. So give him my heart.
Okay.
And I don't think you need 2 M's here either. You know, we could be fussy about that if we were live, but I don't think it matters at this point.
Okay.
So I would connect your M's.
Okay. Thank you.
Him I. Hold on, Sherry. Tybee was next.
Yeah, measure 22. The tenors and the altos hold that.
Yes. Angels.
Where exactly? There's an S there, so we need to know where to cut off and take the breath.
Again, I would follow the standard protocol, which is 8th note rests.
Okay.
So the S goes on the and of 4. Gathered there. Yeah, and of 4. 8th note rests. I know Sherry had a question also.
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself.
Gotcha.
On 38, we have the soprano line, we have kiss, and there's a rallentando. Where do we put that? We have a kiss, kiss. Where do we put the first S?
Put it right up against the other K so that there's no breath between. Kiss, kiss, skis. Kiss,
Yeah.
kiss.
I thought there was a breath. I
Uh,
thought there was an eighth note rest.
That is entirely possible if Thomas gave you a breath over the last few weeks. Is that true, Beth?
I am not sure. It might have been a mark from last time.
Let's take a quick poll. Does anybody else have a breath marked at the end of 38 for sopranos? I see a no. I see a couple of no's. Let's go with a no breath in measure 38 into 40, unless somebody specifically heard Thomas say, take a breath there.
Thought he did.
I would say no because the alto line is moving.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. The tenors and basses are breathing there before the what can I give, but I think that feels different because we have a different destination. I think your destination is the same as the altos. It's a really good question, though. That could go either way. And thanks, Beth. I appreciate you saying what you think is true because it's helpful to get both sides. I appreciate
No
that.
problem.
I see Polly's hand up. After Polly's, okay. I see Polly, then Brian, then George.
Okay, thanks. I just have a question. So we can stagger some in these four measure phrases.
Say that again. Oh, stagger breathing. Yeah, you're gonna have to. The tempo is just really slow.
Yeah,
so
that's
unless
what
you're
I'm
unless
finding.
you're a breathing pro, you're gonna have to compromise.
Okay.
Just be careful not to do it in the critical places where it's marked as a no breath.
Sure.
Or like when you have an interesting rhythm, it feels like it's an easy place to drop out, but that's probably where we need you most. The best place to drop out is during a long note where you diminuendo, quietly take your breath, and then crescendo back in.
Okay.
It's true we can do some magic, but every time you make an error, Chris has to spend about 5 minutes finding it and then changing the dynamics and stuff like that.
And we don't know where everyone else is breathing.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. I've been pleased at how it tends to work out. That must be some sort of chaos theory or something, but it's pretty amazing that everybody makes mistakes, but they tend not to be in the same spot every time. So Brian, you're next.
Yes. We're back on measure 22. You had addressed to the altos. This must have been when we performed it. We didn't take a breath between angels and there. Do you want us to take it now?
You are probably right. But you know, as we're sustaining these notes forever and a day, you got to do it somewhere. So I made a decision when I did mine to take an eighth note rest, and I would recommend it. I would recommend it to anybody that needs the air.
Right, and the same thing happened 38 into 39. He also wanted to roll kiss into what? I'm assuming eighth note breath again for the tenors and basses.
You could be right about that.
We rolled into it when this is the copy I have from when we sang it.
Yeah. Do any tenors or basses recall Thomas giving any specific instructions in measure 38 into 39?
No.
Breath or no breath?
No, I didn't say anything.
Matt?
It would seem to me you would need a breath.
I think so.
Matt's okay with a breath too? Okay, let's take the eighth note breath then at the end of 38.
Thank you.
Okay, George.
Yeah, last two measures, the last thing everyone's going to hear us sing.
Yeah.
Straight tones, a little bit of vibrato, certainly not a ton of vibrato, I would assume.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm not a huge fan of straight tone, but if any song is going to need it, this song does.
I would think so.
The intonation is so delicate.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to be wobbling all over the place, but you also don't want to sing with a lot of tension. So if you're bearing down trying to keep straight tone, I'm not sure that's going to give you a better result than to have a little bit of vibrato.
Okay, thanks.
A little bit is nice. Too much is ugly. Thea, quickly. We're almost done here.
Were you just talking about the end?
Yeah. Yeah, sustaining the last notes. So I think the key here for this one is just to get used to watching Thomas conduct it so that you can get those timing things, especially at the ends of phrases. It's going to be sloppy unless we're attentive to what he's showing us. And sometimes you have to look carefully to see what he actually intends. It's not always as clear as it is in person. So use the track. Make sure that you're rehearsing with that before you make a recording. I can tell that there's a bunch of stuff in the chat that I have not been monitoring. It is now 8:31, so we don't want to keep you. But if there's anything essential in there, has anybody been monitoring the chat?
Does Polly have any announcements before?
Polly Queen.
I'm good. I'm good. I have not been monitoring the chat either, but no announcements from me.
Okay, so we're going to call that a night, and I'll stay on the call here, as will Patricia, and we'll try to go through that chat, make sure there's nothing important. If you had a question that you need answered, stay on the call. Also, if you have any diction problems, Brian has offered to stay around a little while and help you. Perhaps we can even arrange for you folks to talk separately if there's other business going on here. Otherwise, thank you, folks. I miss hearing you sing, but it's wonderful to see you and know that you're doing your best work out there. I appreciate that.
Nice rehearsal, John Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, Polly.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, John Eric.
John Eric.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.